guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Okay guys, I'm back and it is January 16th, Wednesday, and it's 7:42 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, I know you're probably wondering where I've been the last 2 days, and I'll just quickly explain. I ended up with a very, very serious medical condition. They are still trying to determine exactly what caused what happened to me. I ended up in the hospital, but they're not sure at this point whether it is a blocked bile duct in my liver or whether I have pancreatitis, so I should know by tomorrow. I had some additional tests today. Anyway, I feel much better than I did, so I'm going to go ahead and record a video tonight because I know probably you've been wondering where I've been and wondering if I'm okay, and I am okay. I just needed a couple days to recover physically, and here I am. Anyway, let's get moving here. We don't have any Q posts for today, and I was going to apologize for that, but I can't help it. But we do have lots of Q-related news, so we're going to get into that. I have been still collecting news items over the last few days, even though I haven't been well. And I did want to show you what I deal with on a daily basis. Sometimes, you know, I may go for a few days between, but this is what I deal with, and I just wanted to show you guys just for the heck of it. This is from somebody called Brummy the Brit. I did report this person, but they said, "Hey, you stupid Canadian god-awful ugly cat lady, hope you die real soon and rid the world of your filth. Maybe a bunch of Muslims will break in while you sleep and have their way with you and give you to Allah. And that would make a great video. And killing your cats and putting them in boiling water with celery and eating them. Yum, yum, yum. Allah sees your sins and knows where you are." Well, you know what? I don't care if Allah sees my sins, and I don't care whether Allah knows where I am. I fear the one true God who can kill both my body and my soul. So there you go. But I don't usually give, you know, any attention to the haters. Because 99.9% of the comments that I receive are wonderful. They make me laugh. They're warm. They're just, you can tell that they're coming from people that really truly are good, genuine, down-to-earth people. So anyway, I wanted to show you that just so you'd know. And I'm sure it's not just me. I'm sure that it's a lot of people out there that are speaking the truth. This is what comes against us on a daily basis. So your prayers are needed and very, very welcome. I do believe in prayer, and I believe that they do affect the world around us when we pray. Anyway, let's go on here and get into some of these other things. I've got some weird off-the-wall stuff and some interesting stuff too. If Elizabeth Warren, often referred to me as Pocahontas, did this commercial from Bighorn or Wounded Knee instead of her kitchen with her husband dressed in full Indian garb, it would have been a smash. You gotta love President Trump. I just don't know anyone else like him. He's unusual. He's witty. He's very intelligent man, but just never met a troll like him. But it's well stated. It's well stated. And you know he tells the truth. All right. Well, we don't want to watch her do that commercial anymore because, you know, it was bad enough the first time. I threw up a little in my mouth, and I just don't want to go through that again. So I'm going to move on here and on to something that is completely different. Man tells woman her vagina is haunted. Uses his penis to get rid of ghosts. You can't make headlines like that up. You can't. So let's go see that. Why? Well, because I've been off for a couple days and I'm a little bit, you know, I don't know. I don't even know what the word is. Punch drunk, maybe. Let's get rid of the ad block thing here. Okay. Yes, I don't know. I've never had a haunted vagina. I don't know, you know, what the symptoms are. But I don't know. Have any of you women out there had haunted vagina? I don't know. Is it a thing? I don't know. The outrageous incident happened back in 2013. Oh, maybe it doesn't happen anymore. That's way back in 2013. Maybe they've found a way to get rid of haunted vagina syndrome. When a self-proclaimed paranormal enthusiast named Huang Jiangang told a woman known as A Yin that her vagina was haunted. He then explained that his penis could help ward away any ghosts that might be haunting her. Not only did he have sex with her, but he charged her $3,000 for his help. Huang was later arrested within Guangdong province, China. It is unclear what happened to him, but he is assumed to have paid a fine or spent some time behind bars. Maybe he's exorcising the prison demons. I don't know. Is that all there is to the story? No. During this time, Xin worked at a spice shop. It was here when she became infatuated with her boss. Wanting him to seduce her, she approached him for help. He allegedly pitched his unorthodox exorcism idea to get rid of any ghosts that might be haunting her private parts. Later, the Global Times got word of the incident, and news of this quickly spread online. Well, I bet it did. Xin believed that in order for her to be cured, she had to have sex with him, according to Chinese newspaper Southern Metropolis Daily. From what is understood, both of them went to a hotel room where he could perform his exorcism of sorts. While in the room, he had Xin stripped nude. Well, naturally, you can't get rid of vaginal ghosts unless you strip naked. After some time passed, he convinced Xin to have sex with him, as it was the only way to get rid of any spirits that might be lingering behind. He proclaimed that his penis would banish any and all ghosts that were haunting Xin. After this, she could fall in love with her boss, who she was infatuated with. Well, sounds like a good deal. When arrested, he admitted he had never had sex with Xin. He said due to diabetes, he couldn't get an erection. It's unknown how long he was held for while in jail, but the location was somewhere I can't pronounce. From the Global Times, Huang then convinced the victim to have intercourse after explaining that ghosts in her vagina are preventing her boss from falling in love with her. Ghosts he could only catch with his penis. All right. I think I need to start telling people that their wallets are haunted and they need to give that money to me so that I can exorcise it. It's just a suggestion. All right, well, let's go back and see what else is in the news. All right, what's this? I ask as if you know. You don't. What is this? What is this? Oh, yes. Okay, this is serious. No vaginal ghosts here. All right, this is serious. Do lasers confirmed again, house chopped in half. So let's look at this again. We already know that this is what happened in California. I think everybody knows at this point, but perhaps there are still people that are believing the mainstream media. Who knows?
Tuesday, July 31st, 2018. I'm John Knox in Los Angeles. Now, this picture has been taken off the internet. It's a suburban neighborhood believed to be near the Carr Fire, that's C-A-R-R, which is near Redding, California. Now, we're talking about fires. Irregular, unpredictable, raging forces decided to burn when it got to the suburban development. Now let's drift the camera a little bit to the left. Now this forest fire, when it got to this suburban tract, decided that the houses were more important to burn than the trees. And we're going to drift down a little bit here, speaking of trees. Now, to the left of this group of trees or bushes, you see the shell of a burned out car. Now, the energy that it takes to blast all of the glass out of the car, to burn all the rubber tires off the car, that's pretty intense energy. So in that spot, there was an amazing amount of energy and heat being expended. And yet, the trees and the bushes off to the right of this particular car did not burn. Okay, the camera up and to the right, we're going to find something that this irregular, unpredictable, raging force of nature decided to do.
Look at that.
The left of this property is decimated.
How does
the right of the property, probably about a third of the house, looks like what happens to a decoration on the top of a wedding cake when it's cut. So this irregular, unpredictable, raging force of nature decided to do this to this house. Pretty amazing fires. Okay, so let's pull out a little bit and take a look at all of the lots that are in this picture. The thing that you're going to notice is the decimation, the obliteration is as different.
And we've seen this stuff before. What I found really interesting is this house, because it does look like somebody's taken a hot knife and just cut, and it does look like if you've ever cut a cake like that, and the cake kind of, the last piece kind of, that's what it looks like. But this, it's not even singed. How's that happen? Well, we know how it happens, but I mean, if you're trying to explain it using normal language, like a fire, like a normal, natural, organic fire, it doesn't look like that at all. So anyway, let's go back here and see what other interesting things we can get involved in here. Let me see. And this from the Federalist: why Trump will win the shutdown. I think we're all wanting to know that. We're all wanting to hear that he's going to win. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats have left themselves no fallback position, and that's why they will lose. Compromise, it's a word President Trump used several times yesterday. He is open to compromise. In this case, that means something short of the $5 billion he wants for the border wall. He's open to taking less, perhaps in exchange for not applying the law to younger illegal immigrants. This is clearly the easiest way out of the current debacle, but it is something Democrats, led by No Wall Nancy Pelosi, have said they will never support. This is the problem. Democrats have backed themselves up against a wall. A wall. They have created a situation in which they will not give even $1 to Trump to build a wall or fence, steel barrier, or whatever they have lost. They have lost the political fight. Pelosi, the great Speaker of the House who gets things done, has left herself no leverage to get anything done. She could ask for almost anything in exchange for wall funding, but instead she won't budge. Trump is channeling his inner Michael Corleone, and telling Democrats that his offer is nothing, not even the price of the border wall, which he would appreciate Pelosi appropriating. So here we are. This is not well written, and it's hard to read. We all like to knock and mock Trump's braggadocio claims that he is the best negotiator ever, but in this case, he really has outflanked his opponents. Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer have painted themselves into a corner. They have said no funding for a wall. They say this despite the fact that they have supported barrier funding in the past. So in essence, they have given themselves no fallback position. The Democrats have made this a zero-sum game. If Trump gets any money for the wall, he wins. That's a really fantastic position for him. He can go on TV, whether in a controversial network roadblock or an appearance on the southern border, and say, hey, I'm up for a compromise. Meanwhile, Chuck and Nancy have to slam the door shut on getting 800,000 federal employees back to work. A president always has an advantage in a government shutdown. The executive branch speaks with a single voice while Congress is divided between parties. Trump is clearly pointing to and offering a solution. The House Democrats aren't, and their transigence is highlighted by the fact that the Republican members of Congress are calling them out. The simplest and best solution to the current crisis is for Democrats to give Trump a few $1 billion for the wall, get something back on minors illegally transported across the border, and then we all move on. But the new Democratic leadership has decided this can't happen. They have drawn a line in the sand, and across this line you will not. So here we are. What reason does President Trump presently have to cave? You could point to the legitimately troubling stories of federal employees unable to pay the rent, as major networks have done, but as troubling as those stories are, we can't really place the blame squarely on one person who is open for a compromise. Pelosi, perhaps, feeling a bit bullied by leftists like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, made a grand announcement that there will be no compromise on the wall. Okay, then what? Trump said he is willing to own the shutdown, and maybe he does, but what he took ownership of was a situation in which Democrats refused to act. It accrues to his advantage. If the government shutdown ends in the near future, which it, well, may not, it will only do so because the Democrats fold on wall funding. There is no other way out. Pelosi made this a do or die situation. In all likelihood, Trump will be willing to keep the government shut down for the rest of his presidency. Is Pelosi up for that? I tend to think she is not. In fact, one problem Democrats face in a shutdown is that if the government gets shut down in the forest and nobody notices, does it make a sound? That is to say, many people will think, perhaps the federal government isn't too big after all, and wouldn't conservatives rejoice at that? Pelosi will have to fold here. There is no benefit to Trump for folding, and plenty of benefit for her. She played it wrong. Fair enough. She can live to fight another day. But this time, on the fight, Trump is beating her soundly and will get his wall funding. It's only a matter of time. I happen to believe that. I happen to believe that she is the one that's in a bad position because Trump is clearly willing to negotiate. Pelosi is not. So she has said time and time again, no, there's no negotiation. Well, she's made her point clear, but I think that she will be caving far, far, far sooner than Trump. Let's just put it that way. All right, and I think Trump may just go ahead and get his border wall anyway through whatever means necessary. And let's go to this. I thought this was sad. Excuse me, I haven't heard too much about this in the news. 22-year-old arrested, charged after pastor gunned down Sunday morning. Pretty sad. Appeared to me that he was opening his church and he was gunned down. The victim in a deadly Sunday morning shooter has been identified. Hinds County Coroner Sharon Grisham Stewart confirms that 62-year-old Anthony Finch Longino was killed while opening the doors of his New Bethany church where he serves as pastor. Pastor Longino's family released a statement about their loved one. The Longino family would like to give our sincere appreciation to Mayor Lumbamba, who has worked diligently to bring justice to our beloved family member and everyone who provided information by having the courage to break the code of silence. Thankful to everyone for their kind words and prayers during this extremely difficult time. He lived his best life and enjoyed serving his community of Jackson and walked in faith. Please keep us close to your hearts and in your prayers. His legacy, loving his family, loving people, serving his community by being a light to lead others to Christ. This is just very, very sad. Murdered for no apparent reason as he was opening his church to begin Sunday morning services. Just thought I'd mention that because it needs to be mentioned. He needs to be remembered. Now, this from Donald J. Trump. Best line in the Elizabeth Warren beer catastrophe is to her husband. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you're here. It's their house. He's supposed to be there. You gotta love Trump. Seriously, you do gotta love him. Now, this, we're kind of all over the news today. But after the haunted vagina, it's kind of hard to top that one, but I'm trying. Okay, Daily Mail. French riot police are now using semi-automatic weapons with live ammunition against yellow vest protesters as Macron's law and order crisis spirals. Officers were filmed brandishing weapons by, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, although I should because it's a very famous place. In Paris today, riot police were on crowd control duty today, facing off a mob. Rifles at demonstration by unarmed citizens show how Macron crisis intensifies. Last week, former conservative minister said live fire should be used on thugs. So apparently they are calling the yellow vest protesters thugs. And in fact, I read, I'm not sure where I read it now, but it was in the last few days where one rioter was shot in the back of the head. I'm not sure. My understanding is that they perished, but I'm not sure of that. If you guys know, put it in the comments below because this is something we should be keeping up on. Because if they are going to be using this type of force against rioters there, who's to say if things were different that it would not happen to us here? It could very well. it's alarming, really. French riot police have deployed semi-automatic weapons with live ammunition against yellow vest protesters for the first time. Officers were filmed brandishing Heckler and Koch G36 weapons, and the presence of semi-automatic rifles at a demonstration by unarmed French citizens shows how President Emmanuel Macron's law and order crisis spirals. It comes after former... Okay, we already read this. I don't know why it's saying it twice. But I guess that's a quick way to end a riot when you bring out these semi-automatic weapons. And I think it's alarming because these people are unarmed. Now, yes, some of the yellow vest people have caused fires and so forth, but it's still no reason to bring out deadly force upon them. It just seems like everything is ramping up worldwide, globally. And it seems like globally we are in this fight to the death with the globalists. That's the way it seems. And it's not just the way it seems, it's the way it is. And we have to just hope, I guess, that this is going to turn around and that the things that we've been told are really what's happening behind the scenes. I know now... It didn't used to be this way, but now it's like every single video, people are, well, you know, you're an idiot for believing in Q, right? You know, and it's like, okay, you know, it's really it's just getting very intense, very intense. And I don't know if other people that are doing YouTube videos are noticing this as well. Probably, I would assume so. I would doubt that I'm the onlyest one. But yeah, they're ramping it up. All right, and then there's this. Bill Mishel, the U.S. budget is about $4.25 trillion. The Democrats have shut down the government over $5.7 billion, or 0.1% of the budget. So that is why the entire government is shut down. That is why there are federal employees not being paid right now, because the Democrats will not negotiate on 0.1% of the budget. 0.1%. Now, consider, you know, let's say you're a married couple, and you and your husband, or you and your wife are sitting down and you're discussing the budget, and you can't agree about one small item, which comes out to be 0.1% of your entire budget. Do you really think that's that big of a deal that one of you aren't going to compromise on that? I have, you know, if you say no, we wouldn't compromise on that, well, then you've probably either just got married or don't intend on being married for long. But I would assume that most married couples who actually like each other would compromise. To some extent, one of them would compromise, but we're not talking about a couple that likes each other. We're talking about the Democrats and the Republicans. Well, we're talking actually about the Democrats and Trump. And we know they don't like each other. No, not a bit. All right, let's go to this. Why? Because we can. Why wouldn't we? We're curious souls, you and I. Curious souls we are. Okay, Elizabeth Warren, just when you thought Elizabeth Warren couldn't get any more out there. Oh, she can. She can. Next time I see Elizabeth Warren, no, not a word of a lie. I'm going to go, hi, how are ya? Hi, how are ya? Hi, how are ya? No, I am. I really, really am. Okay, Elizabeth Warren compares abortion to getting your tonsils out. Right. You know, some women, after they have abortion, they go through horrendous difficulty. They go through guilt. They go through all sorts of things. And almost like post-traumatic stress disorder. And I got my tonsils out. I didn't grieve at all. Anyway, Senator Elizabeth Warren recycled age-old, hi, how are ya? Hi, how... Oh, sorry, okay. I've got a hold of myself now. Thanks. Senator Elizabeth Warren recycled age-old debunked talking points on abortion this week to urge opposition to U.S. Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh, a pro-abortion Democrat from Massachusetts. Warren even likened the killing of an unborn baby in an abortion to getting tonsils removed. That's right, getting tonsils removed. We cannot go back to the time of back alley abortion, she wrote. Have you ever heard of a back alley tonsillectomy? I don't know, just wondering. She compared the two. Just wondered if they had back alley tonsillectomies. They must. But what could happen if Brett Kavanaugh is confirmed to the Supreme Court and helps overturn Roe versus Wade? We must stop Kavanaugh. The lives and futures of countless American women are at stake. I know this is old, but the tonsillectomy thing, I had to bring it to you. I had to. Hey, okay. I'm over it now, really. Okay, tens of millions of unborn women's lives have been destroyed because of Roe versus Wade, but Warren ignored how an abortion kills an innocent, unique human life. In a column for the women's magazine, Marie Claire, Warren said Kavanaugh could be the deciding vote to overturn Roe, and claimed women would suffer if that happens. When abortions are illegal, women don't just stop getting them. They risk their lives to do it, Warren wrote. Today, thanks to Roe, getting an abortion is safer than getting your tonsils out. Before Roe versus Wade, many people turned to back alley butchers to end their pregnancies. And, there is truth to that. But if she thinks getting an abortion is safer than getting your tonsils out, well, bless her. Warren is completely wrong on several points. First, an abortion is never a safe procedure, and it cannot be compared to any other common medical procedure, such as a tonsillectomy. Its very purpose is to kill a unique living unborn baby, and about 60 million of them have been killed in abortion since Roe. And according to Planned Parenthood and the Guttmacher Institute, most women did not seek back alley abortions prior to Roe. Well, there you go. In 1960, Dr. Mary Calderon, a medical director of Planned Parenthood, wrote in the American Journal of Public Health, about 90% of illegal abortions are presently being done by physicians. Whether trouble usually arises from self-induced abortions, which comprise approximately 8%, or with the very small percentage that go to some kind of non-medical abortionist. So remember, abortion, whether therapeutic or illegal, is in the main no longer dangerous because it is being done well by physicians. And that was back in 1960. So anyway, that's it for that. I just wanted to show you that Elizabeth Warren compares abortion to getting your tonsils out. So I think that we need to maybe start, canvassing our representatives that we want an end to these back alley tonsillectomies. My gosh. It's terrible. All right. Let's go back to the news, shall we? Of course we shall. Let's see what this is. Well, I'm not sure. It says he's delivering marks at the farm, but I'm not sure why I don't know. Nah, I don't know why. Sometimes I confuse myself. Sometimes I'm quite perplexed as to what I was thinking when I did things. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right. Has President Trump suckered Democrats and the deep state into a trap that will enable a radical downsizing of the federal bureaucracy? In only 5 more days of the already longest government shutdown in history, 25 days and counting as of today, and that was January 15th. Today is that was yesterday, all day. It will be, 25 days and counting as of today. Don't believe me. Sorry, I have will be reached. Okay. So as of, so in 5 days, it'll be the longest government shutdown in history. Don't believe me that federal bureaucrats can be laid off? Well, in bureaucratese, a layoff is called an RIF, a reduction in force. And of course, it comes with a slew of civil service protections. But if the guidelines are followed, bureaucrats can be laid off, as in no more job. It is all explained by Michael Roberts, updated after the beginning of the partial shutdown. Reduction in force is a thoughtful and systematic elimination of positions. For all practical purposes, a government RIF is the same thing as a layoff. Organizations must stick to predetermined criteria when sorting out what happens to each employee. They must communicate with employees how and why decisions are made. In deciding who stays and who goes, federal agencies must take four factors into account. 1. Tenure. 2. Veteran status. 3. Total federal civilian and military service. And 4. Performance. Agencies cannot use RIF procedures to fire bad employees. A lot of procedures must be followed, and merit, performance, is the last consideration, but based on the criteria above, employees already furlonged can be laid off, RIF'd, once they have been furlonged for 30 days or 22 workdays. When agencies furlough employees for more than 30 calendar days or 22 discontinuous workdays, they must use RIF procedures. An employee can be terminated or moved into an available position. This seems to be what was referenced in this remarkable essay written by an unidentified senior Trump official published in the Daily Caller, which vouches for the authenticity of the author and explains that it is protecting him from adverse career consequences should his name become known. I strongly recommend reading the whole thing. The purported senior official makes the case that devotion to process eats up most of the time of federal bureaucrats and is also used by enemies of President Trump's initiatives to stymie the legitimate orders issued by his senior officials. On an average day, roughly 15% of the employees around me are exceptional patriots serving their country. I wish I could give competitive salaries to them and no one else. But 80% feel no pressure to produce results. If they don't feel like doing what they are told, they don't. Why would they? We can't fire them. They avoid attention, plan their weekend, schedule vacation, their second job, their second position. Some do this in the same position for more than a decade. They do nothing that warrants punishment and nothing of external value. That is their workday. Errands for the sake of errands, administering, refining, following, and collaborating on process. Process is your friend, is what delusional civil servants tell themselves. Even senior officials must gain approval for every rank across their departments, other agencies, and work units for basic administrative chores. Then the senior official notes what I have just called the trap. Most of my career colleagues actively work against the president's agenda. This means I typically spend about 15% of my time on the president's agenda and 85% of my time trying to stop sabotage, and we have no power to get rid of them until the shutdown. Those officials who waste time and stymie the president's initiatives now are not present because they are not categorized as essential. Due to the lack of funding, many federal agencies are now operating more effectively from the top down on a fraction of their workforce with only select essential personnel serving national security tasks. President Trump can end this abuse. Senior officials can reprioritize during an extended shutdown, focus on valuable results, and weed out the saboteurs. We do not want most employees to return because we are working better without them. Keep in mind that saboteurs cannot be individually identified and RIF'd, but they can be included in the layoffs if they meet the criteria above in terms of seniority and service, and they must be given 60 days notice. But once they are gone, they are no longer free to obstruct using the process as their friend because they are gone. You can expect lawsuits on every conceivable point, and I suspect the definition of furlough will be one matter of dispute. If this was the plan all along, it would explain why President Trump goaded Chuck and Nancy in his televised meeting with them last year, boasting that he would claim credit for the shutdown. How could they resist a prolonged shutdown when he made it so easy to blame him? President Trump has proven he is a disruptor who changes the framework of thinking on major issues by refusing to accept the givens, the assumptions of how things always have been done and therefore always must be done. So who is the senior official? I don't know, but I think Stephen Miller is the sort of bold thinker who might volunteer to telegraph the strategy just 5 days before the deadline, give Chuck and Nancy something to think about, and probably reject as unthinkable. Then they can't complain that they weren't warned once the trap is sprung. Such a massive RIF would be the Trump version of Ronald Reagan firing the air traffic controllers when they went on illegal strike in 1981. That was completely unexpected by his enemies, vehemently criticized and successful. Among other benefits, it taught the leaders of the USSR that Ronald Reagan was a man whose threats cannot be dismissed as mere rhetoric. If you think that Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un, Angela Merkel, or any other foreign leaders would not draw the same conclusion from a massive RIF, then you are kidding yourself. My theory may be completely wrong, but I pray that it is not. Well, that is a fantastic article, and I happen to believe that that is exactly what Trump is doing, because he is a very smart man. And any of us that have I've worked in the corporate world, I've worked for a corporate 50 or what do you call it? Fortune 50 company. I've worked for a Fortune 50 company, and you get that in literally almost any department could be run with only 20% and 80% going home, because you've got the 80% that are just there, they do their job, but they don't overdo their job, and they're all right. But, literally, you've got that excess in every single organization, and there's always people that are working against management, but they can't really be fired because they're not doing anything overtly wrong. So yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all if that was taken into the big picture. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm sure at least that Trump and his administration have thought all that through. All right, well, let's go back. I'm not going to get into this right now, but apparently the German government is forcibly removing children from homes where parents are homeschooling, and that is something to be concerned about as well. Now, I don't have children, but if I did, if I had been living in the South, and even now here in Canada, I would have homeschooled, because there's pros and cons against homeschooling, for and against homeschooling, but with the way that some schools are, and the way that some schools, it's not just the propaganda that they're being given, it's that the teachers themselves are not even well educated. So I've seen some of the school notes when I worked in the corporate world. Some of the people that worked under me brought me notes that their children brought home with them, and I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable that an adult wrote this, let alone a teacher. But anyway, so that is something that is concerning. Now, this from Steve Scalise. You can't say you're for border security if you're not going to fund the tools it takes to actually secure our border. A $1 offer for the wall is an insult to the employees going without a paycheck and to the communities impacted by the criminals and drugs pouring across our border. Yeah, Nancy, $1 for the wall is a massive insult. Yeah, and then when the guy that was raising all that money for the wall, I can't remember his name, but he's a veteran, and he raised a lot of money for the GoFundMe wall, like $20 million. Well, he went to collect his dollar, and Nancy, she didn't want any part of that. I mean, if that had been me, now it wouldn't have been, because I'm completely diametrically opposed to everything that she stands for, but I would have stuck my head out the door and gave the guy $1. Man. Anyway. Okay, and statement from press secretary on congressional lunch meeting. As Senator Schumer and Speaker Pelosi refused to negotiate, President Donald J. Trump and his team are working hard to find solutions to solve the humanitarian and national security crisis at the border and reopen the government. The president has a proposal on the table that includes additional technology at ports of entries, allows minors from Central America to seek asylum in their home country, and physical barriers between ports of entry made of steel instead of concrete. Today, the president offered both Democrats and Republicans the chance to meet for lunch at the White House. Unfortunately, no Democrats will attend. The president looks forward to having a working lunch with House Republicans to solve the border crisis and reopen the government. It's time for the Democrats to come to the table and make a deal. Sarah Sanders. Well, don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, but and look at this. Let's look at this first. Because we can. So much to talk about. So much has happened in the last couple of days, including the whole Gillette thing. Give me a break, Gillette. Nobody wants your fancy pants, boys. No. Give us men with beards that smell like men, that burp and fart. My gosh, we don't want these soy boys. Really? I'd rather put up with a man burping and farting than a soy boy. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Pope Francis, world government must rule the U.S. for their own good. Well, come hold our hand, Pope Francis. We need you to tell us how to do everything. Come govern us. No, don't. Pope Francis' idea that Americans would be better off under a world government doesn't stop there. The radical leftist pontiff also went on record stating that Europe should become one country under one government. In the same interview, according to La Publica, Pope Francis and said that Europe must take on a federal structure resembling feudal times when the peasants were ruled by unimpeachable monarchs. Well, of course, because that's what the Bible describes in the end times, that want to bring the world together as one and rule it as one. Of course, that won't be a benign ruler, as we well know. Anyway, let's go back here. Now, Germany Supreme Court rule that anti-child marriage law is unconstitutional, which means it is totally legal in 2019 for Muslim men to marry girls 10 to 14 years of age in Germany. But you can't homeschool them. You can marry them. You can have sex with them. But my gosh, if you homeschool them, we're taking you to jail. That's the world we're living in. That's the world we're living in. It's absolutely ludicrous. And Drudge Report study, Trump TV news, 90% negative. 90% of all news about Trump is negative. 90%. I don't know how this man gets up every day. I really don't. Like, I would be depressed if everywhere I looked, every single thing about me was negative. That's all you're getting reflected back at you is negativity all day, every day. I don't know how he does it. He's got a very, very strong constitution. That's all I can say, because that wouldn't be me. And it probably wouldn't be you. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but I would say 99.9% of people could not hold up under that. And then we have this, all those people that say nothing's happening. St. Petersburg, Florida, police say a 16-year-old Marion County boy and other teen have been rescued from a den of human traffickers and sex abusers. Cops, 7 charged after Marion boy rescued from traffickers. And I don't know about you, I never used to see stuff like this in the news, and now it's every day. Every day you'll see arrests for human trafficking. That's something that has changed since Trump, because it was never in the news before that. Oh, every once in a while you'd see it, but not like this. Every day, if you searched through all the country's newspapers, you'd see something every single day. All right. Now, Natural Blue Resources, a green energy company co-founded by Nancy Pelosi's son, has been charged with securities fraud. That should surprise no one. And look at this. Russia donated $0 to Donald Trump, but they donated $145,600,000 to the Clinton Foundation. But Trump is the one under investigation. Yeah. That makes sense, doesn't it? And this makes me very sad. From Praying Medic, the deplatforming of conservatives continues. Who's next? And he's citing Roku. After the InfoWars channel became available, we heard from concerned parties and have determined that the channel should be removed from our platform. Deletion from the channel store and platform has begun and will be completed shortly. Now, I know some of you may be saying, well, I don't agree with Alex Jones. That's not the point. That's not the point. If we, we can't just pick and choose. We've either got free speech or we don't have free speech, right? So whether or not I agree with Alex Jones is not the point at all. He has a right to say what he wants to say. Just like I have that right. Just like you have that right. Just like other people on YouTube and other channels have that right to say it. But they're being denied that right by the thought police. And that's exactly what they are, the thought police. All right. Now, found this very, very interesting. You know how Donald Trump people makes fun of Donald Trump for his spelling, and they always call it out like he's some sort of idiot. Well, he misspelled burgers on purpose. He spelled them hamburgers. Here, let me make this bigger so you can see. Here is his Trump. Great being with the national champion Clemson Tigers last night at the White House. And by the way, people are upset with Trump because he served them burgers and so forth. That was with his own money. There's no staff working. There's no chef on duty. And he spent his own money to get all this fast food and everything in. But you'll never hear that. But anyway, he said, great being with the national champion Clemson Tigers last night at the White House. Because of the shutdown, I served them massive amounts of fast food. I paid over 1,000 hamburgers. That's what he wrote. Within 1 hour, it was all gone. Great guys and big eaters. Well, what was Trump saying? Well, a birder is a thing or person who is on the level below the devil and commits act the devil would consider evil. As in, that guy is such a birder. So it would be like, okay, this guy is basically, if you're calling somebody a birder, you're saying they're even worse than the devil. They're committing things that even the devil wouldn't commit. So yeah, I don't think that was a mistake. Hamburgers, I just don't. I think that was very much on purpose, and he was trolling because he can. All right, and then this. There are now 77 major or significant walls built around the world, with 45 countries planning or building walls. Over 800 miles of walls have been built in Europe since only 2015. They have all been recognized as close to 100% successful. Stop the crime at our southern border. It doesn't get any more straightforward than that. All right, now. And this as well by someone called Grizz. Just some little known facts that the mainstream media neglect to mention as they peddle leftist propaganda is that Russia donated $0 to Trump campaign while giving crooked Clinton Foundation nearly $146 million and getting 20% of our uranium under the Obama administration, yet Trump is under investigation. It's similar to the last tweet. It's just got a little bit extra kick in there. All right, and I want to show you this because you're going to find this hard to believe if you haven't heard it already. It's going to get your goat. If you don't have a goat, it could get your dog or cat, I guess. Your fish, probably not. Don't think it likes fish. Likes goats, though. Okay, Politico. Look at this. No, don't look at that. Look at this. Fake editions of Washington Post falsely claim Trump steps down. Yeah, there were fake editions of the Washington Post circulating. Wonder if that has anything to do with Bezo. Fake editions of the Washington Post circulated across Washington on Wednesday, falsely claiming that President Donald Trump had stepped down. The imposter publication, dated May 1st, 2019, features an extra-large headline, "Unprecedented," and went on to state, "Trump hastily departs White House, ending crisis." A fake website designed to look like the Washington Post website carried similar language. There are fake print editions of the Washington Post being distributed around downtown DC, and we're aware of a website attempting to mimic the Post. The Post PR account tweeted, "They are not Post products, and we are looking into this." Other headlines on the fake website read, "Celebrations break out worldwide as Trump era ends," and "From Me Too to You're Fired." Yeah. It was not immediately clear who directed the fakes. A trickster activist collective called the Yes Men claimed to have produced the paper along with writer Onisha, a last name I can't pronounce, and author L.A. Kaufman. The story this paper tells is more reasonable than our current reality, the person whose last name I can't pronounce said in a statement on the site, and it's anything but far-fetched. We're already being unprecedented levels of protest and resistance. Now we just need to ask ourselves, what's next? This paper offers a blueprint to help us reclaim our democracy. Yeah, well, whatever. It's all a bunch of poo-poo. I know, I need to watch my mouth. All right. I think that's just about it, but it's not just about it, because no program would be complete without this. We have to cover this. Pelosi lied. I know, it's stating the obvious, isn't it? DHS say there is no security problem for State of the Union. Now, of course, Nancy Pelosi said that President Trump couldn't have a State of the Union because they didn't have security for it because of the government shutdown. But she lied, of course. Speaker Nancy Pelosi sent a letter to President Donald Trump on Wednesday asking him to postpone the State of the Union address to a joint session of Congress scheduled for January 29th. Pelosi stated security concerns over the partial government shutdown. Pelosi said both the U.S. Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security have not been funded for 26 days now, with critical departments hamstrung by furloughs. Don't you love that? Hamstrung by furloughs. Sounds so much more dramatic. Therefore, they would not be ready for the speech because they were hamstrung by furloughs. Hi, how are ya? Okay. All right. Pelosi posted her letter to Trump on Twitter saying, "Today I wrote to @RealDonaldTrump recommending that we delay the State of the Union until after government reopens, as the Secret Service, the lead federal agency for State of the Union security, faces its 26th day without funding. Today I wrote to @RealDonaldTrump recommending that we delay the State of the Union until after the government reopens, as the Secret Service, the lead federal agency for State of the Union security, faces its 26th day without funding." The Department of Homeland Security refuted the Speaker's claims. The Secret Service is ready for the State of the Union address. Senior DHS official says the Secret Service is ready for President Trump's State of the Union on January 29th, and that no one from Nancy Pelosi's office checked with the Secret Service before requesting delay. Yeah, Ms. Pelosi, that would be a lie. You didn't even speak to the Secret Service, you dog. I don't know. You can lead a dog to water, but you can't make it think. Anyway, all right, that's it. That is it for this evening, and I think we've been almost an hour just on Q-related news. But it's been fun, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that you come back and listen again. Thank you so much. Make sure that if you want to be subscribed, that you stay subscribed, because they do drop subscribers from now and then. So just check to make sure if you do want to be subscribed. If you want to be notified of future videos, hit that bell button. And that's it for tonight. I will be back tomorrow, God willing, and the creek don't rise. And I hope you guys have a great night. Sleep well, stay safe, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Good night.